Everyone has a unique story to tell, and today I'm very delighted to be joined by Nick. Thank you so much for being my first guest, and we will have a little chit chat.
I'm originally from Sri Lanka, studied in India, so I have a very strong connection to India. I did my master's there and I worked in Dubai, so I made a lot of Indian friends there as well. My mom studied in India as well. So we have a lot of connections with India and we are the neighboring country. I've been coming to Norway since '97, since my sister came in 1996, but I was young and I was never planning to
Yeah.
live here, and it's a place you didn't want to live in 1996 because it was like there was a curfew even in the middle of summer. There was nobody in the streets, and I actually thought it was a curfew because I
Yeah.
was living in Germany at that time, studying as a young adult. But then I met my wife, my ex-wife, who's Norwegian, in 2006. We moved to Dubai because even at that point I still didn't want to live in Norway. So 5 years in Dubai, had the most amazing time. Got to work with some of the largest corporations
Yeah.
like GE and 3M and so on. Build sort of a corporate persona. Prior to that, I come from the hotel industry and the entertainment industry. So, and then coming to Norway in 2013 is where my proper journey in Norway started. And it's an interesting journey. Coming from Sri Lanka and having lived in the sort of the third world, what we call it, and I come from a well-to-do family, but I grew up around children sleeping in the streets. I had this, my friends call this is the Siddhartha syndrome. That I was Siddhartha the palace, a prince, but I gave all that. So I wanted to experience the hardship, the other side of life that people go through, and so for me, having come to Norway and with all my background and knowledge and education and corporate pedigree, I actually found it. This could be personally my story. I don't expect everyone to understand this. I found this very interesting to actually do the worst possible jobs like washing, student bully, where
Yeah.
big student houses, running up and down stairs and in minus degrees and so on. So it gave me the insight that I wanted, or at least something that my soul was yearning for. That's where I started my journey here in Norway. And but then, of course, when you have a light inside you, it's very difficult to hide it, and people see it in one way or the other. And that attracted amazing people around me, and that took me on the path that I am right now.
That's really amazing to hear. You remember your first day in Norway?
I have two friends. I get this text saying, "Hey, it's snowing in campus," because they know that I have not seen snow before, and I was pretty young. It was cool.
What was the first habit that you adopted with Norway and took back home?
When you're in Norway, you're a foreigner, so you're different, right? And when I went to Sri Lanka, I was different because I've been living outside of my country for so long. I guess just walking, talking, dressing. In our country, in Sinhalese, we say kalusudda. That means a black person who thinks he's white. Everybody looks at me unusually. That's basically what because I haven't lived in Sri Lanka after I moved.
Yeah.
I've only visited, and yeah, and people spot me like a sore thumb, like, yeah, that guy. And the funny thing is, and my current wife is a Norwegian. So you see a guy who dresses differently, looks differently with a white blonde girl. So you automatically presume that he's a foreigner, and people come to you and go like, "Yes, how would you like your dinner or whatnot?" And then when you go to shops, there's something interesting that happened. I'm literally discussing the price of something,
Yeah.
and this person says, "No, it's 500. It's nothing less than that." So I said, "Okay," and I go to the next shop, and then who has the same product, and I hear that guy, and I speak both the languages in
Yeah.
Sri Lanka, Tamil and Sinhala, and he tells this other guy in Sinhala or Tamil, I can't remember, "Yeah, I told 500, don't say less than that." And I just open my mouth and I say, repeat it in the same language because I speak
Yeah.
both the languages fluently.
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, I'm not paying you 500." That took a moment for that person to calculate what was happening to him right now.
If there is one thing that you could take from Norway to Sri Lanka, what it would be, and vice versa. If you could bring something from Sri Lanka to Norway, and what it would be.
This is something that I've been working on. One of the projects I will start with that, which I was also mentioning at the event, is we collect used laptops and used hardware, and of course we delete all the valuable, all the important information, which is and then empower rural families in Sri Lanka and get Sri Lankan corporations to provide the internet connections, the solar or the wind farms to charge these, because these are people who have difficulty accessing electricity and internet, to give them an opportunity to access the internet, so
Yeah.
that so that is for me. I believe most people's lives are based on the knowledge that they have and the ability to think critically. What things that we are already doing. What I see Norway has is it has an amazing social structure. It of course it comes deeply from the Viking mindset of empathy. They're
Yeah.
deeply empathetic people, and it's not just in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, the Scandinavian, Nordic countries. All of them have it, and that's why you see Norway is rich, so the people have an amazing life. But Denmark doesn't have oil. Sweden doesn't have oil. Finland doesn't have oil or anything, but they still have the same quality of life. It's nothing to do with the oil. It's just a bonus, but it's to do with the mindset. And if I am able to bestow this mindset, first in myself, and then with the Sri Lankans, for people to empower themselves instead of being a victim. So to move from that victim based thinking into more empowered based thinking, that we can change what we want if we want it, and we come together and we think in this way. So that is what I would love to take from Sri Lanka. I think there is because we are so many different nationalities. All of us live very closely together. We have this amazing communal feeling where when we are out as kids, our neighbors take care of us, right? They just call us in and give us some
Yeah.
food and ask us. So there's this amazing communal culture there. Your neighborhood is literally your family. So I think that is something I would love to see here more and more.
We have reached to our rapid fire round. Don't overthink, just one word that comes to your mind. You have to say tea or coffee,
Tea,
mountains or beaches,
beaches,
Oslo or Bergen,
Oslo,
rice or bread,
rice,
early bird or night owl,
night owl,
books or movies,
movies.
city life or nature,
I would say nature,
sunrise or sunset.
sunset.
One Norwegian word that everyone should know.
Du klarer det. You can do it.
What's the phrase the Norwegian blend means to you?
I have family members here who have achieved insane success, and some of them you will most probably be interviewing here, because I will tell them to speak to you. They shall be ordered. All the way up to politicians sitting right. For me, I see as Norway as a virgin territory. It's what the US used to be, the wild, wild west, is now in Norway, because the Norwegians are sort of late to the party. They got exposed to international cultures later. They got exposed to the US, UK cultures very early. So it's kind of died down, the trend. But everything that we take for granted in Sri Lanka, for example, yoga and Ayurveda, esoteric way of living, for example, it's a big thing here. They're discovering this. This is just one example. I mean, in every other possible way, because of the wealth that the Norwegians have, and the social system that is here, that gives people the opportunity to experience new things, at least for the first time, just to see, like, okay, should I wear this type of t-shirt, or should I do this podcast, or anything. So the mind of the Norwegians, I feel, is very ripe for this, because they've been exposed so much to what's been happening, but they do not necessarily have anyone who has actually done it, or who has actual experience with it. Even you can get information online, but it's nice to have someone who's actually done these things as a friend, or as someone who you can speak to one-on-one and ask. risk. So people like you and me who are here as expats and people who are also born to expats, they bring these unique cultures and know-how, blends of everything, society and social structures and interesting products, so on. So for example, I know people who work with hemp, and people are now very much informed about the frequency of the material that we wear, which affects our body. So people are into more linen and hemp and these type of products, which is pretty normal in Sri Lanka, but here it's something new and something exciting. So as I said, this is also just one example, and the different foods and the different cultures and so on. So Norway is still very much in its infancy when it comes to foreign cultures. There is amazing opportunity around there as long as you come out of your shell and you learn how to connect with the Norwegians. That you have to respect the culture of the country where you're living in without any judgment. It could be good or bad. Or judging it, just respect it for who they are, and then build a relationship based on that respect. There are amazing opportunities.
Thank you so much. With that, one last thing, one last sentence that you need to complete. The sentence is Norway is dash because dash.
Norway is heaven on earth
Because.
because the Norwegian way of thinking.
Thank you so much for being my first guest, and thank you so much for joining me in. And everyone listening to this podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope we see the new guests with new stories to tell. So, thank you so much. With that, bye bye.